Hello and welcome to another Pulse-Fired Gaming video. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the future of Star Wars Armada and the communities that are developing more content for it. Today we are joined by...
I'm James, and my online name is Maturin, and I'm one of the member of the Armada Ruleset Collective. I'm the project manager.
Excellent, excellent. So, I know that you guys made a couple different announcements at the very beginning after Atomic Mass Games had made their statements about ending the development of Armada. What is ARC?
ARC is a group of experienced and enthusiastic players who have been playing the game for a long time. We are a collection of tournament organizers, former FFG playtesters, and North American, European, and world champions.
Excellent.
That are amongst our group members, who have come together and said we need to keep Armada alive. And the primary purpose of ARC is to make sure that the Armada rule set stays updated, that FAQs and erratas are issued, and that the game is maintained. We're also going to try to make sure that the competitive scene in terms of tournaments stays lively and fresh, and to that point we'll be introducing some rules changes, some points adjustments, some new content down the line. But all of that is very much long-term planning. For now, we are working on a rules document that basically is a enhanced errata. We're not changing the rules regulation document that FFG and AMG have on their websites, but we are going to put together a hopefully very comprehensive FAQ and errata document that makes it very easy to search and reference rules and sort of questions that TOs and players might have during the course of the game.
Beautiful. So you mentioned that you have people who playtested with Fantasy Flight. How do you guys? How did you get together with your playtesting team?
The group kind of formed before I joined. I'm a relatively new addition to the group, and I think it just evolved because people talked online, by Discord, in person, and said, they needed a solution to the fact that AMG is abandoning the game, and so it formed partly through force of personalities, and partly through just word of mouth amongst people who play a lot, and then they brought me on board because they needed someone to kind of keep the ship going in the right direction. And so I'm not a champion level player. I'm just a regular player. I don't play enough to be quote unquote good, but I do have a lot of experience sort of herding cats professionally at work, and some project management experience too. So that's really my role, is to try to keep everyone pulling together in the same direction and keeping the project going where it needs to go.
How are you developing the new content that would go into erratas and stuff like that? Is it just playtesting, or do you have meetings with discussions, or?
We do have meetings, regular meetings and discussions, and we're still working that out. Even though ARC has been around as a concept for a year, we were really handcuffed because AMG kept holding on to the game for so long. They didn't release their last update, and without knowing what they were going to do, it was hard for us to do anything at all. And in fact, AMG hasn't let go of the game. They don't officially leave the game until May 31st. So we are, in the meantime, discussing. We do have some ideas. We're actively playtesting now. I think our overall philosophy is we look at the game as a whole. we look at the competitive environment as a whole and say, what does the game need to stay fresh? How do we ensure that the tournaments don't always fall into, oh, here's an Akbar list and here's a Radis list and that's all we see here, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
We want the scene to stay fresh, and so we don't look at it as oh, I want this particular ship in the game. We say, what does this faction need in terms of gameplay, and then we kind of iterate from there. And so far that seems to be working well, but we haven't officially released anything yet, so I'm sure the fans will tell us when we get there.
Absolutely. The ultimate beta test is doing a release and getting a whole bunch of feedback that you never even thought of.
Absolutely. And we want people to try to break things, so that's great.
Yeah. That's how you learn, right? You gotta break it to learn about it. After May 31st, after AMG is officially, they don't have to be officially out on the 31st. That's their plan. How do you guys plan to distribute new content like this when it becomes finalized through ARC?
We are working on a website that will have these documents. I believe we're going to be hosting these documents on GitHub so that there's version tracking as well. But we will socialize it on the various Discords, on Facebook, on Reddit, on whatever social media we can promote. Again, we're still working on all of that, but I think we are going to be, we definitely will have a website that will have all the documents keep playing Armada, with the exception of the rules reference guide. As long as that stays up on the AMG or FFG websites, we'll let them post that, and we'll just have all of our documents support.
I think it's helpful that there are a couple different. There's one really big Armada Facebook and there's one really big Armada Reddit. So those are fairly easy to put that content through. It gets super granular, I think, with more local groups. But at least with that, and then the two big Discords, Armada Hub and the Armada Discord, it seems like people should be able to find your content once you guys go out and publish it.
We certainly hope so.
Yeah. All right. So the last question I have for you, and this is a question I'm asking all four of the interviews I'm doing this weekend, is how do you, as a representative or the project manager of ARC, envision tournaments and Worlds proceeding after Worlds 2025?
It's something that we are discussing actively. It's not something that we have a definite answer to yet. What we do know is that we're not looking to run the tournament ourselves. We are definitely talking with tournament organizers around the world, and we hope to support them and flesh out a structure that will make sense and will support a competitive environment, but we don't have a definitive vision as of right now as to what that will exactly look like. But we are willing to support the community however best we can.
Yeah.
We're not looking to exclude anyone. We're not looking to, partially define the boundaries of the game. We want to support everyone, including alternative formats, however people want to play. We're just enthusiastic members of the community.
Beautiful.
Maybe can I say something about, we are in communication with Legacy and Legends, and so we are looking to cooperate where we can, and we look forward to a productive relationship with both those organizations. We may work together on some content, we're not sure. We will see what happens going forward.
All right. Those are just the questions we have written down. Do you have any other things that you think people who want to learn about ARC, who don't already know about ARC, should know?
No, I thought we covered most of the basic things. There are a couple of channels in the hub that have our guiding documents, our terms of reference, and guiding principles. If people want to take a look, it's all out there. We aim to be as transparent as possible.
Okay.
About our rules. Maybe we can just throw that in there somewhere.
I'll put that as a link in the description. I think I can direct link to that channel. And then so.
Okay, our first release is, we're aiming for June 1st with the rules document that I mentioned.
Beautiful. All right, thank you so much for your time. Not everybody's comfortable doing this, but I'm glad that you were able to step up and do this.
Right.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. We are very, very happy to try to get the word out. And thank you for your awesome video making skills.
Oh, I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see when the draft goes out. All right. Thank you for your time.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye. Hello and welcome to another Pulsefire Gaming video. Today we're going to have a very special interview with one of the developers from the Armada Legacy team.
Hi, how's it going? I'm Forrest.
Hey, Forrest. Hope you're having a good day. All right, so go ahead.
I was just say, yeah, really busy traveling for work right now. That's why I'm sitting in a pickup. But it's good. Glad to that I was able to make time for this.
Beautiful. All right, so let's jump right into it. What is Armada Legacy?
Legacy is a community effort to develop content, hopefully to the level that with the goal to develop at a level that FFG did. The older waves of Legacy, it's been around for over 2 years now, didn't meet that goal. But recently I came onto the team and we kind of restructured and re-envisioned how we were going to do things and brought on a lot of really experienced people and include multiple Worlds winners, Armada Worlds champions, former FFG playtesters, and so we've got some really knowledgeable people developing the content now, and so I think we're going to meet that goal of higher quality content moving forward.
Excellent. How do you guys look to develop new content for Legacy?
Yeah, so we have a decently sizable team, but we've kind of got it broken out into different levels of development and playtesting. So we start with our core 4 guys, and we get an idea of what we want to develop and what we think the game needs. We look at addressing needs, and then we start getting initial concepts and those needs into a document. And then when we bring in the next wave of people, we share that document with them. It's broken out into individual Discord channels, and then we discuss and talk balance and how that given piece of content we're looking to develop might fill that need, and we flesh it out, and then we have a concept, and then we bring in another wave of guys, and that process just rinse and repeat. We're playtesting it every step of the way, and by the time it hits like a public beta, which we are doing with the Legends, which soon will be called Nexus channels, we've already had about 30 people have eyes and have playtested it before it even goes out into any kind of beta or public view. And yeah, the process has worked really nicely. It's avoided the too many cooks in the kitchen problem, while also getting a ton of development and quality control eyes on it.
Have you seen, or how do you guys play test it? Do you guys are you guys meeting in person? Do any of you get to meet in person with stuff, or is it just all through TTS?
Yeah, some of us do playtest in person with friends that are either on the playtesting team or just are willing to help with it. But then a lot of us are playing on TTS with each other. Spacenavy, he is currently maintaining the only active TTS Armada deployment, and he's very good at it. He's exceptional at it. And yeah, so as we're playtesting our content, we're getting changes in as we're making them. So we're playing with live TTS content, and we also have a very active 3D printing community and manufacturing community. So Peter, he plays with printed models with tokens and everything on the board that matches the content that we're actually testing.
Is that Peter Saber?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So after you guys establish new content, you develop it, it goes through its levels of playtesting. What plans do you have for the widespread distribution of this content? How do you intend to get it out to people?
Yep. So we're actually for this wave commissioning 3D models for printing for vendors to sell as well as for community members to print. So there will be a Armada Legacy STL for each piece of Armada Legacy content released this wave. And then, so that's one way to do it. But then also, if you go to Starforge, which is the builder that we've developed, it's print and play for all Armada cards, but then also all the Legacy stuff will be on there. And then we're also trying to coordinate with vendors to make sure that they have access to the cards once they're ready, and those will have they will already be watermarked and not watermarked, have margins for printing around the edges and everything. So as we hand those out to vendors that want to sell them on Etsy, they should just be drop it in whatever printing method you use and go. And so we're trying to make it really easy to get this content into people's hands.
As someone who's tried to cut out cards really well and has a really hard time with it, the margins will be greatly appreciated.
Good to hear.
All right, so last question. How do you, as a Armada Legacy dev, how do you envision tournaments like Grand Tournaments and Worlds proceeding post-Worlds 2025?
You know, the Ion Radio guys have a lot of really good relationships with I know Adepticon specifically, and I imagine that they'll have a big influence in what that looks like. We would love to see properly vetted community-built content at those level of tournaments. We are going to work to try to make that happen with Legacy content, but we're not going to be offended or butthurt if people don't adopt it. We totally understand it's their tournament to organize, but we're going to be ready, able, willing to support it however we could, and are keeping it in mind and developing for that path if it was presented to us.
Okay. Do you see, like, for instance, like a JV versus varsity? Do you see like a legacy and a official? I guess is how I describe it, or whatever that looks like post May 31st.
Yeah, I think that's also fine. I think as side events is a great way to introduce this to people. I think that would be wonderful.
All right. Do you have any other anything else you want to say for the people that will be watching?
Look forward to June 1. There's going to be a lot of big things coming, and then I provided you some images, and we just have a lot of big rebrands and things coming. And, we're really excited for what's in the pipeline. And
beautiful. Well, thank you very much for your time, Forrest. I hope you have an excellent day.
Yeah, thanks. You too.
We reached out to the Armada Legends developer Spacenavy, and they returned our interview questions in the form of audio, and that's what follows. How does Legends differ from Armada Legacy?
Nexus is a community project that's all about adding new content for a wider, more casual audience. Legacy, on the other hand, is a lot more focused on the competitive balance and organized play. In Nexus, we're a little bit more relaxed. We've added several custom factions like Scum and Villainy, and even some stuff from the Halo and Battlestar Galactica franchises. It's all about giving players more fun ways to enjoy the Armada system without being locked into a strict tournament meta.
How does content get submitted?
Anyone in the community can throw out ideas for ships or upgrades in our Discord server. When the monthly dev cycle for that faction comes around, some of those ideas might get put into a server-wide poll. Afterwards, people will vote on what they want to see worked on next.
How does the monthly dev cycle choose what content gets put forward for playtesting?
Every month we run a community vote with a few options of ships and squadrons for a specific faction. Whichever wins becomes the focus for that month's dev cycle. After that, we refine it through discussion and playtesting. We also try to incentivize playtesting by running a raffle. You earn raffle entries for every playtest you submit, and at the end of the month, we draw names and give out prizes to help keep people involved.
What happens when content is finalized?
Honestly, nothing is ever truly final in Nexus. We finish a dev cycle and move on to the next project, but we're always open to coming back and tweaking things if problems pop up later. After a dev cycle ends, the updated cards and content get posted to Starforge, added into Tabletop Simulator, and if you want physical cards and tokens to play with, they'll also be available through my Etsy shop, Spacenavy Industries, when it goes live. Pulsefire Gaming will be able to supply you with all the 3D prints that you may need to play with this content as well.
What wacky things have you seen in Legends?
We actually have a whole section on the server called the Wild West, where people can post whatever crazy homebrew ideas they want without worrying about strict balance. And yeah, we get some pretty wild stuff in there, especially from the newer Supremacy Mega Class Dreadnought from The Last Jedi. It was so big that it actually is wider than a Superstar Destroyer in Armada is long, and it uses 3 large bases instead of 2. If you're curious, you can find it in the Tabletop Simulator mod underneath the First Order faction, or you can find it in the Wild West forums in our Discord server.
How do you envision tournaments like GTs and Worlds proceeding post-Worlds 2025?
Nexus content isn't really meant for the big competitive tournaments like those. It's more geared towards casual or kitchen table games. That said, I could definitely see some Nexus content showing up in some side events for those people who are interested in that. Ideally though, Legacy would be picked up by the community as the new standard for competitive content. And if that happens, maybe one day some of the better polished Nexus designs could make their way into the Legacy roster. But for now, we'll just focus on giving players more content to have fun with.
Hello and welcome to another Pulse-Fired Gaming interview. Today we're going to talk to Doty about Starforge and the digital tools that are available for Armada players, both new and returning players for post-Worlds 2025, and what that looks like.
Alright, so hey everyone, I'm Doty. If you haven't seen me, I'm on most of the Discords and Reddit. I'm the lead developer of Starforge, which it's a list builder that also lets you print off your own cards and do a bunch of future data stuff with your lists and integrate with tournament tools, which coming soon. And so it's been a labor of love, and I've worked on it for the last 7 months or so. I kind of knocked it out in a month as a project just to learn how to do web development, and it kind of grew from there. This was my first full stack web application. I had only done individual bits and pieces before then, and it's been pretty great, and it's gotten a lot of positive reviews, and I'm just going to keep making it better.
Okay. What would you say makes Starforge different than the other tools? I think there's T3 and T4 or something like that, and the Kingston builder.
Yeah, so there's Ryan Kingston made what most people would consider the standard list builder, and that would have been 6, 7, 8 years ago, a while ago, maybe even longer at this point. There's also been some other ones. There was Armada Warlords, which I think Green Knight made. There's DM Bork, who I think he's French. He made Armada Fleet Designer, which was the original Legacy builder back when old Legacy stuff was going on. So there have been other list builders before, and all of them have around the same set of core features. But there were a couple things that I was really focused on when I was putting together Starforge. Number one, especially since the game got canceled, I wanted people to be able to print off their own stuff, as in a whole list from scratch, on their own paper, on their own printer. So, starting, for example, with ship cards. Well, if you couldn't buy a ship, for example, you buy an acclimator from Pulse's shop. Well, where are you going to get the cards? How are you going to get the base? Before we had developed the 3D printed base tokens that we'll talk about later, there wasn't really an easy way to get the ship card, the arcs, the upgrades, all that kind of stuff. So what I went through and did in Starforge, and I'll demo it in a little bit, is I created a print and play feature where you make a list as normal, just like any other list builder. But when you're done, you can go click the little print icon, and then it'll open up a little menu. And at the bottom, you'll see a print and play cards section. And if you do that, it'll literally let you print off your own cards. And that they're automatically sized, just like the official ones. Base tokens, those in the ship base tokens with arcs on them, are also already sized. And you can print them off on your home printer. You can go send it to a printing service, like at, Staples or Office Depot or a card printing service. And you can do whatever you want. And so it kind of decentralized the game a little bit, because now, as official stock isn't really available, and especially as new content comes out, like Legacy and Nexus and future stuff, which we can get into later, there was no really centralized way to be able to just print off that stuff and use it. I mean, individual people had made print and play PDFs of individual parts before. For example, Spacenavy had made a print and play PDF of just a ship card or all the base tokens, but there was no centralized place where you could mix and match whatever you want and get all of it. So that I would say is the number one thing that makes StarForge different, is that you can print everything off yourself and it's automatically sized for you. And so that way, if you're a newer player getting into the game, or an older player and maybe you only had the smaller mini cards and you want the newer versions of cards, you can print it off through there. Second thing is customization. I spent a lot of time making StarForge very customizable. So between the content that you want to enable, so in the top right hand corner, which we'll get to when I do a demo, when you go onto the site, there's toggles for all the individual pieces of content you want to add. So if you were one of the original guys who liked a lot of the old Legacy stuff, you can enable it. That's a little toggle up there. The newer Legacy stuff, like Wave 0, which will be out, you can enable that there too. Nexus stuff is up there. There's also a bunch of different game modes that you can pick. So depending on what you're trying to build your list around, you can pick a different game mode, and it changes the points that are associated, so you can see whether stuff is over or under. And in addition to that, in each of the little menus, where when you click on like add ship or an upgrade icon, I worked really hard to get a lot of super fancy sorting done. So essentially there's a bunch of icons at the top of each selector window. There's a search menu where you can search by like keywords or dice colors or numbers of shields or hull that a ship has, and it'll find a ship that essentially is associated with it. But you can also, for example, just sort by points and names and have unique things at the top and have custom content at the top. And you can mix and match whatever amount of those you want. And I just wanted to make something easier to use. And so kind of the last thing related to that, for people that just want to print off new stuff, I have a little icon called the sandbox, which is basically everything in the game of whatever content you enable all in one spot. And if you click on that and you go through it, you can mix and match ships from different factions, you can use different rule sets, you can enable or disable different features, as in what you want on your fleet. You can add, for example, a Imperial title onto a Republic ship. All the restrictions are gone. And so people that are doing campaigns or narrative events, which is a whole other portion of the community, you can go through there and do that too. So that's kind of the big thing about StarForge that I wanted to encourage. It's the decentralizing the game, so meaning that now everyone can print off their own components, because now that the game's dead, you need to do it. Customization, so choosing what you want in your list and how you access it. That's kind of been the core ethos. So you can enable whatever content you want, you can enable whatever features you want, and it's all there. And then third is just the ability for people to be able to do whatever they want with their stuff. If they have an item that's missing from their collection, they can print it off. If they want to play with multiple factions mixed together, they can do that. You can do whatever, you know? The game is ours now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the players have got to kind of take control of it. And, you know, I'm the player, and now y'all can take control.
So you've talked about print and play. Say that it works better with print and play, or would you say it works better digitally? What I envision for something, and this is based on nothing, is like, would someone have their phone on the table at a game with all the stuff on it, or do you think the preference for players will be print and play for that stuff?
I think most people like print and play, from what I've seen. There's a couple in the Texas area. There are a couple like newer players where all the stuff they have is 3D printed, and all the cards they have are printed off by hand. And for like a quick game, if you're missing a card or whatever, yeah, you could just pull it up on StarForge and you can look at it and reference that when you're actually flying. But most people that I found tend to want to print stuff off beforehand and then play with those cards in game.
Okay, that makes sense. So that, I think, covers the two questions, or the two penultimate questions. I guess the last question is, do you see players using StarForge content at tournaments anytime soon?
Yes, very much so. And there's 2 or 3 reasons for that. The first reason I'll give is so Spacenavy, who maintains the Nexus tabletop simulator mod, which is kind of taken over as the main Armada tabletop simulator mod. That integrates directly with Starforge. So any of the new content and whatever that you want to import into that builder. So for example, on Starforge, you make a fleet. There's a little export text button where you can copy your text for your fleet and import it right in the tabletop simulator, and it just works. And it works with all the new content. So Legacy and Nexus content and the old Legacy content, all of that works. So you can directly integrate with that, meaning for online tournaments, especially now that the points changes came out and they broke a lot of parts of the old tabletop simulator mod.
Yeah.
People kind of have to use the new mod, and they need it in a format that it works best. And so, we kind of vertically integrated, and so Starforge works great with that. Number 2, I'm developing a tool called T5, which, if you've heard of T4,
okay,
it's a tournament tool. Essentially, it was just, I think T4 was also the successor to T3, which was another tournament tool. So, this is the third successor. But T5 is essentially a tournament tool that will allow you to host tournaments with a variety of rule sets. So all the customization I mentioned earlier with Starforge. And in addition, when you make a tournament, you'll be able to have users sign up directly through Starforge and submit a list that's automatically checked to see if it meets the rule set you pick. So for example, let's say you do a rule set where none of your fleets need to have a commander in it because you're playing something like, I don't know, Who's the Boss? Where you like a random commander at the start of every match. Well, when you'll sign up to T5, which I'm still working on, you can submit a list through Starforge to that tournament, and it'll automatically check, oh, well, you're using this rule set. Oh, you have a commander in your fleet. You should take that out because this rule set doesn't allow it. And in addition, there's a bunch of other stuff that all the judges at Worlds and I talked about that was making their life really hard with using T4, because it's a great piece of software, but it hasn't been maintained in over 2 years, and there's a lot of like little bugs and inconsistencies here and there. So T5 will basically make judges' lives easier, was my goal. So that's going to be directly integrated, and it will be done by the time of Adepticon. I'm hoping to get it done actually by the European Masters, which is in November in Poland, which hopefully I'm going to get to go to. Fingers crossed. Hopefully I'll have it done by then, and they can try it out in a big tournament scene and give me some direct feedback on it. But that's the goal as far as tournament goes. And as far as the content on Starforge, here's all what I'll say. I think a lot of people have been dying for something new from the game that's reasonably balanced and that gets them excited to play again. And I think no matter who's making that content, Legacy or Nexus, it doesn't matter. People are going to want to use it. They see a subjugator show up in their list builder. They're like, damn, that's cool.
Yeah.
I want to try that. And I mean, they see an awesome model online because tons of people have bought some and painted them up. And they're like, oh yeah, now I want to play that. And a bunch of people, now that there's more 3D printing models, yeah, exactly, it's right there. So now that more and more people are, 3D printing models or buying them from people on Etsy, like Pulse, and they have this awesome model, they want a card to be able to play with it. And so I think it is very likely to me that, especially at Adepticon, there will be an event that features all custom content that anyone can go and play. And I'll be hosting it myself, probably. Now, as far as long-term, I think Legacy and Nexus will have succeeded if people are clamoring to use their stuff at tournaments. And I think the longer things go on, and the more support everything has, and the more all of our tools integrate together, that's just kind of inevitable. It's going to happen. People are going to get bored of playing with the current meta because, a couple points adjustments and a couple commander adjustments aren't going to make the game dramatically different.
No.
And they're going to play with something new, and when that happens, they have a place where they can build their list, they have a place where they can play it, and they can print everything off themselves to be able to use it. So long term, I just see it as inevitable. It's going to happen. The timeline on that isn't entirely up to me. You know, I'm not the only stakeholder. So there's a bunch of people in the community that have different exact opinions on when that should happen. But I think everyone's kind of in agreement. It is going to happen. And so, you know, just make some noise if you want to see it. Let people know. Because if they see huge demand for new releases, then they're going to start thinking about including it everywhere. So,
yeah, it would.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, go ahead.
The day that we see ships like the Lucre Hulk or the Subjugator or the Dreadnought or even something as little and as easy to implement as like the Gar Arquintans, that will be like that's what we want to see, is people developing new content and then taking that developing new content and having fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And because at the end of the day, this is a game. And, you know, from a Nexus perspective, we keep everything public, out in the open. We try to keep things as balanced as we can. Doesn't mean we don't try some weird things every now and then to have fun.
Wild West.
Yeah. But we try to keep things reasonably balanced, where if you show up to a match and someone has Nexus content on the other side of the table, you can be confident that you're not going to get smacked around because the content is broken.
Yeah.
So, and really, well, I know a lot of people really enjoy the competitive play part of the game. As long as you're having fun and you're being able to play new things and you're still engaged in the game, I don't care. And if that means that things have to get wacky, then so be it. Things get wacky. I'm excited for that. But if they don't, then that's okay. It's all good. I just want to make sure everyone's having fun and they keep playing this game, because I've been playing it casually for a long time. I only just started playing competitively like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. And I want it to have a long lifespan, because there is no game like Armada.
Yeah.
Really. There's not a good successor from like another IP, or even within the same IP. Armada and X-Wing are way different. And they have entirely different ways of play and list building and strategy, and just like the overall amount of decisions you make is different. So there is no game like Armada. And if people aren't even in the Star Wars, a big thing we've been working on at Nexus is non-Star Wars IP stuff. Like we have Halo factions that we're working on right now, that we're making cards for, and that I'm going to be putting updated cards in the Starforge for. And that, yeah, there's some awesome models for.
Not going to be able to see that one, but there's a little Banshee for you.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things. People like this game system, mostly.
Yeah.
And the exact fuzziness around what balance is, I don't think really is the crux of the game. It's just a fun, thematic, and relatively balanced Star Wars fleet game that has a lot of different ways to play and has a ton of replayability. And that is the crux. So, Yeah, that was a long answer to your question. But I think people just want to see a fun game with new stuff that gets them excited to play. Really.
As long as that response was, it is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you very much. Do you have time to do a screen share and take us through the Starforge tool so people can see it?
Yeah, so here, I can do that right now. So, I'm a new player. I pull up Starforge for the first time. What do? Well, first, hopefully you noticed the awesome logo that Forrest and I worked on. Mm-hmm. Second, you can see there's a bunch of faction icons here. And if you hover over it, it tells you what the faction is in a little pop-up, and it shows a ship that's like iconic for that faction. Mm-hmm. So as an example, you can see this. And then for sandbox mode, I picked the Dreadnought because, you know, it's the ship for everyone.
Yeah.
All right. There's also a bunch of things down here. The workshop and shipyard, which is the card builder and the way to share cards. those are still work in progress. I have a little fact page and of course a little donate page if you want to chip in a couple bucks. You can also import fleets. So I have a little option where if you used another list builder in the past, you can go through and pick the format of the fleet that you're going to paste in. And if you click import, it'll import that fleet in the Starforge format. So let's
that is genius.
Yeah. So let's start with just, I kind of walk through the user interface. I went through all this. At the top, you have 3 icons. There's a light and dark mode. So flash main for people that are maybe on their phones or computers. So here's light mode. I know, it's bright.
That is bright mode.
All right. Then there's this little plus with a hamburger menu. So here's where you can enable a bunch of different things for your fleet builder. So you can pick, for example, what kind of game mode that you're designing your fleets around. You can also click on, for example, to enable legacy content or Nexus content or disable it. Now, if you know this, when I enable Nexus content, a couple of things pop up. So we've been working on 2 new factions, Scum and Villainy and the New Republic, which we can get into another time. Something that you may want to do is be able to know, well, what is legacy content? Well, if you click on the little icon button, this shows you all the cards that are associated with that content. So for example, you could see there's a commander, there's some squadrons for each faction. And that works for Nexus content as well. So if I enable that, it'll take a second. Click the info button. You can see, for example, here's all the Imperial stuff. And here's all the Rebel stuff. And so it sorts by faction, so you can see all the content associated with a given group. And here's the new Scum and Villainy stuff, including Wave 2 that we just started working on. That way, you can kind of see what you're adding into your builder before you start. There's also a little user icon button with a little sign in. So I'm gonna do that really. Yeah. So you can sign in if I log out again, just to show you. You can sign in with, right now, these 5 services or an account. Microsoft and Facebook may be going away shortly, and GitHub's going to be replaced with Discord, so you can link it directly to your Discord account. That's for T5 integration in the future. Mm-hmm. But you can log in with any of these services, or you can make an account, and it just works. I'll sign in again. No, there we go.
It's okay. We can edit all this.
All right. So I'm logged in. What do I do? So something you may also notice in this menu, so now I'm logged in. You can see there's this low resolution mode. If you click on that and you go into the faction, let's say Rebels. Now all of a sudden all the images are in low resolution, and this works for Nexus and Legacy content as well. So if you're in an area that has slow internet, well, these are low resolution, they're still readable, and like all the cards, you can still pretty much read their text. So this is just something that, people may actually use if you have slower internet. I'm going to back it back out so that way you can see something.
I know last time I was at Warzone, the internet wasn't really great there, so that's perfect for like a tournament space like Warzone Houston.
Yeah. So now if we go to add squadron, you can see there's a little search icon up here. So for example, I can type and it'll pop things up. There's also a couple sorting icons. So for example, I can sort alphabetically, top and bottom. I can sort by points, so cheap to expensive and back. I can put all unique squadrons at the top or the bottom, or unique cards in general. And also I can put new content to the top or bottom. Now we haven't released a Nexus Rebel Squadron yet, so that would show up here. But just to show you the MC40, it pops up there. So you can do your normal list builder things. You can just start adding stuff. For example, I can do that. If you copy a ship and it has a unique upgrade on it, that's what this little yellow dot stands for. On the card, you can see there's this little black dot. I made it yellow so it's higher contrast. It will not copy a unique item to another ship, just because you can't have more than one, unless you're in sandbox mode.
Yeah.
And so, of course, you can do all the things you need to do the list build. Let's say, for example, just to double check. I'm playing a standard game, and I copy this a couple times. So if I've gone over my point limit, you can see it'll tell me, and there will be this little yellow danger icon. In addition, over here, there's an additional fleet restrictions violation. So this is essentially tournament restrictions. So if I don't have a commander, it'll tell me. And if I don't have objectives, when I go to print it out, it'll tell me. But let's say, you know what, this is good. This is what I want in my fleet. I want an A-Wing, and I want 5 potato assault frigates for some reason. If you go up here, this will let you export the fleet in text format. This is how you can import it into Tabletop Simulator. So if you just copy the text, it'll do that. You can also choose to copy as image, and this will essentially let you just share an image of your fleet on Discord or whatever. In addition, if you want to import another fleet here, the import button's here too, so that way you can access it on any page. There's also a little save icon. So this will save the fleet to your account. So you don't, unlike Ryan Kingston or some of the other list builders, you can save fleets for free on StarForge. Just make an account, and you can literally just click this little save button. Let me title this Pulse-Fired Gaming Video.
Very nice.
And I click save. Ta-da! The fleet is saved. So now if I go up here into fleet list, you can see, there you go. There's all my fleets. And if I click on this, it'll take me back into this fleet. So pretty simple. In addition, there's this print icon for print fleet. You can select your paper size. If you want to include restrictions or objectives in the list, if you want to show or hide card backs, so literally the back of the card, I'm going to click show in this case, and whether you want to include or exclude a damage deck. So let's say I'm like, all right, this is good. This is what I want. If I click print and play cards, it pulls up a little non-commercial use agreement, which I got to put there for legal reasons. Mm-hmm. And if you say confirm, here you go. Now you have a PDF that opens up in the new tab that preps the print, and it has all of the pages with their cards pre-formatted for you, including ship bases, as you can see right here, that we all recreated digitally over at Legacy. So that's kind of it, and you can kind of go wild from there. Now, if there's a specific expansion or ship that you missed out on, go to the sandbox. There's a print and play expansion and print and play ships button. So if I click this, any of the base game ships and all Nexus and Legacy ships will show up in here. And if you click on it, it'll pop up the same little menu. Let's say I click show card backs, and I go to print and play. And now all of a sudden, here we go. Here's just the ships with cards and the bases. And so you can do that for any ship in the game. In addition, for expansions, if you want to print the core set, so for example, the Imperial half of the core set, you can do it through here too. And so it'll pop up the same menu, and you can go into print and play, and it'll pop up all the cards. And of course in sandbox mode, you can play with all the faction stuff together. So for example, I could have a Republic Acclamator, a Rebel Assault Frigate, an Imperial Architens, and a CIS Gozanti, or something like that. And I can have them all in one fleet, and commanders show up from across all the factions too. So if you want to mix and match and just play a casual game, you can do that, and there's no issue with it. And of course, there's also all the objectives that you can see here. Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of about it. That's really all you do. That's Starfleet.
Thank you very much for your time. Is there anything else you want to share before we cut this off for today?
No, I think that's about it. Just, you know, if you have any questions on Starforge, you can ping me on Discord. I'm active most of the time, and I'm usually pretty quick to fix bugs and push changes. I just noticed one right there while doing the demo that I'm going to go in and fix a little later. But let me know, and I'll keep working on stuff and hopefully make Starforge even better.
All right, beautiful. Well, thank you very much for your time. And we're going to be looking forward to a important announcement tomorrow, June 1st.
Yeah, Legacy Wave 0.
Yeah. All right.